Hey everyone, it's Lynnea for LDRS Creative. I'm going to be making a card using the Flip Flap Trio dies and the stamps that go along with this. Now before I get started, I do want to tell you that this is going to be an interactive card tutorial, but I do have a separate tutorial on the YouTube channel for LDRS Creative where I show you slowed down step by step how to assemble the interactive portion of this card using contrasting cardstock colors so you can really see the detail and how this gets put together. I have some white on white going on with my card today so that it would work with my completed card design, but I want to let you know about that other video tutorial in case you're interested. Now to start off, I'm going to take some of the adorable little sweets and present stamps from that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp them with LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink. This ink is perfect for all kinds of coloring mediums, including alcohol markers, which is what I'm going to be coloring with today. I've sped up my coloring a little bit because I color very simply. There's not a whole lot of creative technique to my coloring. I usually grab 2, 3, or with the blues, 4 markers, and I start with my darkest color and work out from there. So I'll go dark, and then my medium, and then my light to color this present. Now my blues, I have some gaps, so that's why I have 4 markers, just so that I can easily fill that in. But with this brown, I'm using E99 and E97. Those markers are right next to each other in my coloring guide that I have. So I can easily get dimension with just those 2 colors, and I don't have to really blend out that color very much. I wanted to have that ice cream scoop be chocolate, and then I have this little traditional silver spoon here with red cherries, and I'm just coloring, again, a little bit of dark for wherever I want my shadows to be, and then I'm going to blend out with my lighter markers, and you'll see me coloring that way throughout all 3 of these images. There are lots of different ways to color. A lot of people prefer to put down a layer of their lightest color all over and then go with the medium and then the dark and then back to medium and then back to light. And that's totally fine too. However you like to color and however you learn to color, coloring is supposed to be fun. So you can take these tips and tricks that I'm doing today and use them, or you can use your own coloring style. I'm going to finish up here with the glass for my ice cream sundae. And then I'm taking the same paper and I'm going to stamp this Celebrate stamp. Now this is a large solid stamp. So what I'm doing with my hand there is just prepping that stamp to get ready to condition it and take the ink. I'm starting off with a light blue color of ink, and I'm going to stamp that all over the sentiment. And you can see I didn't really get a great transfer. This is the very first time that I'm using this stamp, so I had prepped that with my hand, and now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fill in any areas. Now, I wanted to create an ombre color, so I'm darkening up the top of that sentiment with that same color blue, but then I'm coloring in near the bottom with some other colors. So here's kind of a medium blue, and I'm going to stamp just the bottom of that Celebrate word. Then I'm grabbing my stamp cleaning cloth and just dabbing away some of that ink, softening that edge so that I can create that ombre coming up from the bottom. I'll do that one more time with that medium color blue ink, inking up the bottom, and then just dabbing away at that line where it meets so that I don't get a harsh line. I want it to all blend together. Now here's an even darker blue ink. This one's a navy ink, and I'm coming in just at the bottom. And I'm going to do that twice again, adding my ink and then dabbing away with my cloth to just soften that edge so that I get a nice ombre blend. And here is my finished Celebrate sentiment. I think this is just a nice way to add a little something extra to that sentiment, but you could definitely just stamp it with one color and you'd be perfectly good to go. I'm going back to those Flip Flap Trio dies, and I'm going to grab all of the coordinating dies for the sentiment and for my images, run them through my die cutting machine, and then off camera I have a couple more images. You do want to have a total of 6 items for your Flip Flap Trio because you're going to have 3 panels on the front and 3 on the back. So I have 5 little sweet things and then a sentiment for a total of 6. Out of these Flip Flap Trio dies, here's where I'm also going to make my interactive card. So I have a panel cut out of pink, my pull tab I cut from white, and then I also have my folding mechanisms. Those are out of white as well. There are 2 different rectangles that you can cut. I went with the scalloped for this design, and I used some pattern paper just for a little extra pop of party fun. Now I'm going to start assembling my card. And I use the hand-torn rectangle dies, and I have a standard top folding A2 landscape style card base. I used the largest of those rectangle dies to cut out a piece of yellow polka dot pattern paper, and that's actually going to be slightly larger than my card base. I'm going to glue this onto my card base before I start my interactive card, because the first step to my card is to cut out a little notch that's going to match the notch that's on this panel so that I can have a spot for my pull tab to stick out so that the recipient knows to grab that tab and pull it to make the interactive part work. So I went ahead and just cut that pull tab half circle out of the right side of my card. And now here's where I'm going to start assembling my interactive card. Now this is going to end up being white on white, so it might be difficult for you to see. So this is just a reminder that I do have another video on this channel that's going to show you with contrasting colors exactly how to put this together, and it's slowed down step by step so you can follow along. These little they look like almost little stick figures to me. I'm going to fold down the square piece and add some glue onto that. That's the only piece I'm gluing right now. Then I'm going to fold down the little sides as well as that half and a hexagon kind of top head piece. I did that with all three pieces. And now here's my pull tab. On my pull tab I have little notches, which again is hard to see on the white, but they are there, I promise you. And you're going to take the folded edge of one of those little tabs and put it right onto those notches. And I added a little bit of glue. I'm going to hold that in place while that glue sets. Going to do the same thing with the second notch. Right where that fold line is, I'm adding that onto the score line, holding that, pinching that in place. And then with my third one, there is no score line for this one. It's instead going to line up right at the edge of the pull tab. Once I have all three of those glued into place, it's time for me to fold up the scored lines on my pull tab. So I'm just going to fold, kind of crease that with my fingernail, and then I will add some glue to fold this down. And this is going to not only make that pull tab double thick so that it's sturdy, but it's also going to help glue down and adhere those little flip-flap tabs that are sticking up in place. Now before I do this last one, I'm going to grab a scrap piece of that yellow pattern paper that I used on the front of my card, and I'm going to glue that onto the inside of this pull tab. That little arrow is cut out on the right. So by putting a contrasting color or a different color behind that arrow, it's just going to highlight the fact for the recipient that there is an arrow and something to pull. So I'm going to take a little piece of paper, glue that onto the inside of this pull tab, and then I'll fold up on that score line and glue that last flap in place. Again, I show this slowed down in another YouTube video so you can follow along, and I have different colors that don't really blend very well so that you can easily see those tabs sticking up and where to fold and where to place them. Alright, so here is my finished pull tab, and that was the hardest part, honestly. Here you're just going to take those little folded tabs, push them up through the three slots that are in the front of that panel, unfold those arms to lock that mechanism in place, and then push and pull the tab. And that's going to give you that mechanism that creates the flip-flap. Next, I'm going to adhere this onto my card base, and I highly recommend using some foam tape because you need to make sure you have some dimension in order for this pull tab to move freely. Now, you don't want to get any foam tape where that pull tab mechanism is sliding, so I'm just doing mine at the top and bottom, and I am doing a double layer because my foam tape is thin, but if you have a thicker foam tape, you might be okay with just the one layer. Now I'm taking this front panel with the pull tab lined up, and I have the notch lined up with the notch that I die cut into the front of my card base, and I'm making sure that that's nice and even, and then I'm going to remove my foam tape and just stick that front panel down onto my card base. And every step that I'm going, I'm making sure to push and pull on that pull tab to make sure everything is working. Alright, now I'm going to get these little panels that are going to be really the fun part of my card all set up. You can add your elements before or after adhering your panels onto your card, and I've done it both ways. I don't really have a preference. This time I just chose to attach all of my images beforehand. The one tip that I have is that you want to make sure your images are not going to interfere in any way with the folding mechanism. So on the front flaps, that's going to be on the left side. On the back flaps, that's going to be on the right side. So you can see here my cake and my balloon are shifted over to the right so that they are not interfering with the folding edge on the left. Now I have added some glue to the front of that pull tab, that little tab that's kind of sticking up from the pink. I added my first little square, and then I flipped it over, pulled the tab to flip that over to the other side, and I'm going to add another image onto the reverse side. So this is why you needed 6. So you have 3 for the front and 3 for the back. And again, I'm going to make sure with every step that I am both pushing and pulling on that tab to make sure everything's working. And I noticed on this first one that my rectangle was pushed a little bit over to the left. That's why I like using liquid adhesive, because I can just shimmy that over and everything will be working perfectly then. Here's the second one. Again, I added some adhesive to the front, pulled on the tab, and then added some to the back. And same thing for the last one. My biggest tip is to make sure that you are pushing and pulling that tab with every single piece you're adhering. It is much easier to fix one misstep than it is to go back 3 or 4 and figure out where you went wrong. Here is my finished, almost finished card, but those flip flaps are all done. All that I have left is to add the celebrate sentiment to the bottom, and here it is. I love the mix of the patterns and the solid cardstocks, and just look at these adorable images, and the flip flap feature is just so fun. I just know somebody's going to get this card for a birthday and open it up, and it's just going to put a smile right on their face to see how fun this is. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!